prison stories. Now I'm prison bound. Um, for the sake of time, I need to get to point A to point B as quick as possible, and there's just too many events that happen in prison. So I'm gonna try my fastest to get through this. So I leave La Paz County after being sentenced to the Department of Corrections. My first time going to prison, and while I was in La Paz County, me and three other individuals ended up racking up assault charges against a child molester. We caught a child molester, we beat him, and we go to court, but nothing ever came of it. And the investigator in that case was, I believe, Alex Castro, and so leaving to Phoenix on the catching the train to Phoenix to go to prison for the first time. I had that lingering in the back of my head, and so I end up going to Alhambra. Alhambra is the reception for all of Arizona. I get to Alhambra, and I see, there's suicide cases in there, people that want to be there, and you're only there in reception in Arizona at that time. You go from dog ward to easy ward, so you pass through the classification part really fast. I'm gonna say about 2 weeks, then you hit your main line. So when I went to hit main line, my first prison I went to was Florence, and I'm in Complex Cook Unit, North Yard, and you get there, and this is I guess equivalent to California. It's a level 3 yard, and when I get there in the middle of the mafia wars between the old Arizona's old Emmett and new Emmett. So those two factions were going at it, and I get there, and when I get there, it's the middle of also the Florence scandal, indictments of COs. A bunch of COs got charged for prostitution, drugs, gambling, and so the prison was in a pretty bad state. So since the Emmett wars are going on, the yard, my introduction to prison, I get on the yard where they're fighting for control of it. So rules need to be established, and me being from California, I get there, and automatically I'm pointed to the other Sureños from California, and then I get a crash course in survival. For one, I'm in a state where nobody likes us. I'm in an Arizona prison who despises Sureños, and so I get there, and there's maybe 5 of us there, and so I had to learn real quick. Got to watch your back, beware your surroundings, and at any time these guys can get us. And also when I get there, since the yards are shaky, they had a member of the Emma in there, a Mexican mafia member, was walking in the yard trying to establish, get a foundation going, get the rules going, stabilize the yard. And he soon left, and then towards the end of my sentence, they released another on the yard. So I ended up in Florence, walking the yard with on two separate occasions, 2 different Mexican mafia members. And again, I'm in an enemy state. They don't like us there. And I parole. I get out, and this is my first time getting out of prison. Nice, healthy, worked out, and my fear of being charged back in county for this assault, all that left my mind. I ran from parole. I absconded, and I came back to Parker, got hooked on drugs, started beating people up, started getting into all kinds of drama. I slowly started losing my mind, because it was like a kid in the candy store. I just been getting sent away so much in the past that, a little bit of freedom, I didn't know how to handle it. I couldn't handle it. I was institutionalized. By then, my little sister Lisa was growing up, and she throughout the years she stayed in correspondence with me through letters, whatever she could keep me updated. When I left, she was a little girl, and while I was in Florence, she sent me pictures of her graduating. Still proud of my little sister Lisa. So I get out, and I last maybe less than 60 days. I got out October 18th, and I end up violating before Christmas, and I end up stabbing like 3 people. Cops almost shot me. My mom got in the way. One of the officers drew his weapon and was getting ready to shoot me, and my mom jumped in the way, and my mom was willing to take the bullet for me. You know, that's moms. I'm her only boy, and I'm sorry for putting you in that position, Mom. I should have never did that. But I ran inside. The cops ran in there, got me. I ended up violating. I ended up going to the tribal jail. I got to the tribal jail, and I should be getting charged for these stabbings, but instead the court is all messed up. It was a mess, and the courts were easily taken advantage of, and I did that. Well, I went to court and they read me off the charges. I told the judge, I was like, can I just go back to prison? And they said, are you on parole? I go, yes. And they asked me, rather than checking, they asked me how much parole you got left. So I lied. I said I got about 2 years. And so they're assuming I got to go back for 2 years, and I was lying. I mean, I was close to discharging. I almost did my whole sentence the first round. All I had was like maybe 50 days left. So they called the Arizona Department of Corrections. I end up going to Yuma Cheyenne unit to discharge, and they told the state that they got me on a courtesy hold, and I got away again. I got away with murder. I escaped through the system because the judge is not wanting to check. Then I started figuring out how to abuse the tribal court system, and so I go to Yuma, and when I get to Yuma, I don't know how it happened, and I don't even know, but a child molester was on the yard, and somebody pointed him out. Rumors circulated. Now, due to this being Arizona, an enemy state, and this Arizona problem, Arizona should have took care of it. But for some reason or another, one of our older homies, a youngster from Pomona, he raised his hand for both me and him. And since, like I said, I'm a young Sureño in training, I went on Jale. And meaning I went on a mission. And so I don't want to say anything to incriminate myself, but locks were placed in socks, and this guy was beaten, and it was a bloody scene. And one of the guys I was doing time with from Tucson, named Vampiros, or Robert Anaya, we had told him that if we were to get rolled up and taken to the hole, if they were to catch us, that to write my family and let them know. And that's exactly what happened. A few days later, they came and they got me and youngster, and they took us to CDU, and it was a DA reject due to the fact that nobody's willing to talk about it. Everybody kept quiet. So they charged us in-house, meaning they were going to give us a long term, more likely send us to SMU 1, SMU 2. But since the fact that I was discharging, there's nothing they can do. So the fact that I wasn't charged criminally and just in-house violation, I went home, discharged, off parole, and I was institutionalized. I could not handle freedom, and my freedom. As soon as I get out, man, I end up getting involved in toxic relationships with drug dealers, and I ended up doing a home invasion. I did a home invasion. I ran to Mexico, came back, got caught, and then I ended up getting sentenced to a year for the home invasion. And you got to understand the tribal laws are different than state laws, and so I got charged tribally. And once again, I got away with murder. I got away with the home invasion. Nowadays, you do a home invasion, that's it. You're washed up. Life, carjacking, life. Time after time again, I kept getting away with murder, and I did half of that. I did half of that time. I did 6 months for a home invasion. Got sentenced to a year and did 6 months. 6 months suspended, and I guess the tribe's idea was that they were going to keep a leash on me by suspending 6 months and try to get me, I guess, for the disobedience of a court order upon getting out. And as soon as I got out, my mom, my little sister wants the best for me. They told me to go out to California, and you know what? I was homesick, and it didn't sound like a bad idea, so off to California I went. And as soon as I get touchdown in California, California back then, and this is in the 90s, the Norteño, the NF, and the NF is the equivalent to the Mexican mafia of the Sureños. So the NF are the generals and the leaders of the Norteños, and they had a policy and they had directives that they had issued to the streets, a unity, and they did it in the form of a CD called GUN, Generation of United Norteños. And one of the songs is XIV to Eternity. And basically what their directives and what they were being ordered to do was to stop the red on red violence and to exterminate all Sureños from Northern California. And I got to get there. I got back to Los Banos just in time because I was itching for some more. I was adrenaline junkie. I just wanted, my feet were swift to run to evil and to mischief. And so I get back to Los Banos and I dive headfirst in. Only this time now, we went from defending ourselves from back in junior high. We were defending ourselves. Now when I got back this time, I ended up meeting other Sureños, and these guys were just as hungry as I was, and we went on missions. You see, the Norteños, because the NF had gave them directives to go after every Sureño they seen, they were bombing. I mean, it was no joke. It was freaking violent in California. Sureños were being murdered left and right. They were being smashed out, and those who didn't have the heart to withstand it, they threw the towel in. And they were smart. Those who threw the towel in, it's nothing but respect for you. You did the right thing. Throw the towel in. That wasn't the case for us. We went front lines. We would go up, see, for every action there's a reaction. And so these Norteños, they came hard. They came, I mean, they were banging. They weren't playing around. They came for blood. And we responded. We responded and we met them on the battlefield. And like I said before, we are the first generation Sureños from my city. And so we don't have no OGs to guide us. So we were basically making it up as we go along. And so when it came to gang banging and going out there and fighting the enemy, you know, I mean, we went above and beyond that. We met them on the battlefield and we did it. I mean, I've been to prison, but my prison term in Arizona didn't teach me nothing besides the basics for the gang politics of California. California is very, very, it's very political, and if you don't know it, it'll kill you. And I would soon find that out. All of us will. All the Sureños from Los Banos would find that out. And so I jumped headfirst into the gang scene, and we'd ride around, and anybody wearing red, we get out and we smash on them. It was just that. When people would get out of prison, they would hear about me doing this and doing that, and they would hear about my partners doing this and doing that, and they would try to speak up, and we were like the boogeyman. They didn't know what car we're creeping around in, and we'd just pop up. We'd pop up, catch them on surprise, and we were smashing. And we you know what I mean? We were fighting dirty. We were doing whatever it took, and we represented to the fullest. And we didn't even do that. We would just do that in Los Banos. We'd go out to Merced, we'd go out to Gustine, we'd go out to Hollister, Gilroy. I mean, we were smashing, and I was right in the mix of all that. I'd be gone for days. My dad didn't know where I was. Ended up in the newspaper. Ended up in Merced County. Merced County is a very dangerous place. If you don't know, the best way to describe Merced County is long hallways. There's a long hallways with 8-man cells and it's bars. And in order to get to the end of the hallway, you got to go through a series of doors. And the police only check maybe every half hour to an hour of what's going on back there. And we're criminals, and there's all kinds of wicked things going on back there. We'd catch people with bad paperwork, and we'd beat them. You know, I was involved in several beatings where we beat these people and we drug them in the showers and washed the blood down. And in return, I was also the victim of that. Due to gang politics in California and us in Las Banos not having guidance and veterans to teach us the way, the bigger gangs from the county took advantage of us, and they pinned us against each other. And not only that, I myself, my pride and my big mouth, and just, you know, being young and stupid, I got myself into a wreck with my friends, and they got themselves in a wreck with each other also, and with outside influence instigating it. And this is the thing about prison politics. They're vicious, and they're not just at all. None of it is just. It is all hypocritical, and none of it makes sense. It makes sense when you're gangbanging because you want it to make sense. And the older you get, the more you start to learn that it's all fake. It's fake. And why we all lined up to do this, we had this belief that if you love your homie and he messes up, you'll beat him within an inch of his life. That way he'll never do it again. And that was our philosophy, and we lived by that. And I ended up in the hole. I ended up in the hole a few times. There was, you know, because I got several orders to hit people, and I hit them. We get in fights on the bus, going to court. I mean, it was on site. It was on site. There was no questions asking or anything. You seen red, you seen the enemy, you get them. And we knew that. We knew they were going to get us because that was their orders from Pelican Bay. But this is the orders from the NF to get us. So we went out there, and, you know, nobody likes to feel like they're hunted because it makes you feel weak as a man. So we flipped it. We went after them, and we did it. We, as a group, we smashed. And as anybody knows that you cannot be an active gang member without making mistakes and getting calentada. Calentada is when you break the gang rules, then you have to be disciplined, and discipline comes in the form of a beating. And we all get it. We all get it, and that's what happened. We got a beating, and all of us took one. And we, my friends in Las Vegas, we all ended up going our own directions, and then I ended up going to California prisons. And when I went to the California prisons, I've been through the Arizona system. Now I'm in California prison. My first prison going to was Tracy, and it's Gladiator School. And the whole prison is all basically Norteño owned, and there's only one place in the prison for Sureños to go. And I went there for reception. Went there, ended up going, getting shipped out to Jamestown up in the mountains. And I get there, and, you know, it was laid back. I finally get to get a rest. I just programmed. And then I go home. As soon as I get home, I parole and I go home. About a day later after I got out, I end up going to a liquor store in the middle of Las Banos on the busy intersection. And I went into the liquor store, and me and two Norteños end up getting down because it's on site. And like warriors in a war, we didn't waste no time. We got down the 2-on-1. I ended up busting one of their heads, and then the other one ended up stabbing me in the stomach and getting me down the side of the face. And I got no hostile feeling towards them. It's just warriors doing what we do, you know. Lucky to walk away with my life, and the same with him. I mean, we didn't kill each other. We were just doing what we were told to do. We were being good little drones. And so I end up running from the hospital and going up to San Jose. Went up to San Jose. I got married. Ended up getting strung out on drugs. Got strung out on drugs. Couldn't do it no more. I ended up being a coward and just walking out on my marriage. Coming back to Arizona, started dealing drugs again. And then I ended up getting in a shootout in Hunter Homes. Got in a shootout. Went back to prison. I've been to Chino a billion times. Been to Delano a billion times. I went to Delano one time. I was due to get out, and I end up with the shoe term. And while I was back in ADSEG, another Mexican mafia member rolled up. And then as I got cut loose from the ADSEG, I ended up with a driver's license. I had orders to whatever yard I touched down on to go ahead and take the reins and to conduct business on behalf. And I did that. So, you know, throughout my time of prison, I have been on the yard with Mexican mafia members, and you know, it gets scary. You know what I mean? A lot of people are comfortable with it, and they think, you know, like, hey, I was there at the big homie, this and that. They run around, but it's nothing to be proud of. I mean, all it means is you're that much closer to death. That's it. That's all that means. And I started figuring that out right away. And I was just consumed by the prison and gang life, and I was fascinated at first. And after going in and out of prison for so many years, and it seems like right when I would get a grasp of life and get my feet on the ground and get a job and slowly start gaining some life skills, bam, I get violated and sent back. And it didn't help none that I would just keep marrying the same wrong girl over and over. I mean, toxic marriages, all of them are based on things that marriages should not be based on. Drugs, infatuation, whatever you want to call it. None of it out of love. It's just bad choices, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't in the right state of mind. I was no husband. I was no dad. My life was committed to being a sureño. And I was big, I was healthy, and that's all I concentrated on. And you know, I've been to all kinds of prisons throughout California. I ended up getting jumped in Mexico, and I almost got murdered out there. Got my grill knocked in, and then when I ran from the hospital that time, they caught me and they sent me half dead to Chino. I get to Chino, and then from there I go and do a violation in Corcoran, and my little sister and one of my friends drove with her up there, and they were I'd say amazed, astonished, I don't know what the word is, that Corcoran is so high security. It was old Corcoran, and they weren't allowed to wait for me at the prison. They had to go down in town and wait for me at the train station, and then the van will drop me off, because Corcoran is like headquarters. Corcoran has the Corcoran shoe, and so it's high maximum security. And when they picked me up, my friend Bonnie says that her friend told her, "Oh, you're going out there? That's where they have Charles Manson." And it's like, yeah, he's there among other people. Menendez's brother was there. I mean, there's, you know, it's a shoe. It's one of the most political prisons in California, because there's Mexican mafia members there, station headquartered in there. And I was just in and out of prison, and I go back to Las Vegas, jump in the gang scene, you know what I mean? It was just downhill from there. It's bad choice after bad choice after bad choice. And the thing about it is that growing up, wanting acceptance and striving to be the toughest, going from scrawny and everything like that, just everything I went through, I just took it out on everybody growing up. I was big, and I wasn't scared of anybody, and I had no intentions on stopping. And it wasn't until I started getting older that the prison scene started wearing off. I stopped finding reasons for it to be honorable. I heard God calling me, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I've always, throughout my life, my Uncle Tony, Aggie Bo, and other people have reached out with the Bible, and all that you hear about God, it gets in and it reaches and it does set down, and that's what happened with me. But I still didn't know how to go about it, so I would know how to act. I became so violent that once I stabbed my first person, it came so easy. And now, even right now to this day, just getting in simple arguments, simple disagreements, my blood and adrenaline starts rushing to where that's all I want to do. And it's scary. I don't want to do it. And I back away as much as possible. It's nothing nice, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. I would never recommend being a gang member to my kids, and I hope my kids never follow in my footsteps, because what I went through, I don't wish it on anybody. I put myself through a lot, and I still wasn't finished. I ended up discharging my P number that I got back in '99 in California. I finally discharged my P number, and I thought maybe life will, I could start all over again. And I ended up catching a new beef. I ended up catching another number, and by that time I caught this last number, this AN number. I had enough. I mean, it wasn't that long of a sentence. I took 36 months, a strike, and I just couldn't do it no more. I got arrested Thanksgiving night out of Needles, California, this county of San Bernardino, and I thought I was just going in for trespassing. Instead, they tried to get me for home invasion again, and I thought I was going to get simple trespassing, but no, they said home invasion. Or I could take this deal, take a strike. They hook, line, and sinker me. I could take this strike, get me for first-degree burglary, for taking a space that don't belong to me, and I could do 36 months. So I did it. I took it, and I was just tired of it. All I did when I got to reception was I stayed drunk. Because all I would do is drink, and I couldn't do it. I didn't want to be there no more. I got sick of cell living. I got sick of everybody's stories. I got sick of people trying to glorify the politics and all that. I mean, I got sick of watching everybody backstab each other. I got sick of everything about it. Just everything about it. All I got to do is skate through this. And just the thought of starting Parole all over again, I just didn't want to do it. I tried to hype myself up. You could do this, come on, this is simple. And it was simple, I could do it. The thing is, I didn't want to do it. So, I end up getting sent out to San Luis Obispo, West Yard. And it's a level 2. My points started all over again. And out of all those years, the last time I've been in dorm living was when I was in my 20s, the beginning of my career as a Pintero. And finally, I'm in my 30s, and I'm going back to dorm living. And so it's like, hey, this is not going to be that bad, because now we get to play games. I don't have to just listen to one person's story over and over and over. Now I can walk along, mingle, and I can listen to different stories. You know what I mean? Just like a little kid again. Play games, go play bocce, go play horseshoes. I love horseshoes. Do all that. And that's what I did. I sat down and I told myself, all right, since I got this prison term, I'm gonna make the most of it. You know what I mean? And I did. And that part's coming up.